the fighter who broke through the barrier of time and space. His teachings and movements have been immortalized on movie screen. Today on our episode of Hero's Journey, we'll delve deeper into the incredible journey of Bruce Lee, aka the Dragon. Bruce Lee was originally named Lee Jun Fan. Interestingly, despite his almond-shaped eyes, he was born in San Francisco during a brief stay by his parents who were vacationing in the US. What was supposed to be a relaxing time for the couple turned into an adventure with unexpected birth, where our little hero decided he would be born on American soil. The name Bruce was given to him by a nurse at the San Francisco hospital, as a more Western name would facilitate his integration and identification in the United States. He began using this name more frequently years later when he moved to the US, although his friends and family sometimes still call him by his Chinese name, Lee Jun Fan. However, despite his brief time in America, Lee was raised in Hong Kong and spent his entire childhood in a context filled with cultural contrasts in one of the largest Japanese cities, which greatly influenced his worldview. Son of Li Hoi Chuang, a renowned actor and opera singer, Bruce was introduced to the entertainment world from an early age. At 5 years old, following in his father's footsteps, he loved acting in children's films, balancing his routine between school and movie studios. In addition to acting, he also dedicated himself to learning martial arts from an early age to defend himself from the bullying he endured, especially because of his mixed origins. His mother had a European heritage, which made him a target for discrimination in Hong Kong, a place with strong nationalist sentiments at the time. This humiliation motivated him to seek strength and confidence through martial arts, leading him to train intensively in Wing Chun. The practice of Wing Chun had a profound impact on him, not only improving his physical capacity but also shaping his life philosophy and approach to martial arts. This martial art, focused on movement economy and efficiency, helped Bruce develop an understanding of simplicity and direction that would later characterize his life principles. This environment, known as the ordinary world in the hero's journey, prepared him for a journey filled with challenges and discoveries, where his early childhood experiences proved crucial for his artistic and martial development. But at some point, the hero needs to fulfill his personal legend, and in this case, Bruce Lee's call to adventure was motivated by a combination of personal desires and family circumstances. At 18 years old, after finishing high school in Hong Kong, Bruce was encouraged by his father to go to the United States to pursue higher education and avoid the problems he had been facing due to street fights. His father had connections in Seattle due to his opera tours, which facilitated the decision. Bruce saw this change as an opportunity to escape the limitations of Hong Kong and explore new horizons. He enrolled in Edison Technical School and later at the University of Washington, where he studied philosophy. This period was significant not only for his academic deepening, but also for the beginning of his career as a martial arts instructor. He began teaching Wing Chun, the fight he learned in Hong Kong, in parks and garages, adapting his techniques to the American audience. Later, after a long time of practice and observation, this martial art evolved into the creation of Jeet Kune Do, created by Bruce, bringing his own philosophy and martial technique. Interestingly, while still at university, Bruce also worked as a waiter in a Chinese restaurant, showing his humility and willingness to do whatever was necessary to achieve his goals. This phase of his life not only marked the transition from his childhood to adulthood, but also solidified his identity as an educator and innovator in the world of martial arts, despite his young age. Upon moving to the United States and beginning to teach martial arts, Bruce Lee faced a series of significant challenges. One of the first was racial prejudice. He persevered to be taken seriously as a fight instructor due to racial stereotypes. Little did they know, huh? Another significant test was the resistance of the traditional martial arts community, which initially did not accept his innovative style and openness to teaching non-Asians well. Over the years and with much persistence, Bruce Lee formed a community of students and loyal followers, who not only spread his philosophy but also helped establish his martial arts schools. When Bruce Lee initially moved to the US, he focused on completing his education and teaching martial arts. But his passion for entertainment, inherited from his father, also motivated him to seek opportunities as an actor. Therefore, while teaching martial arts, Bruce began participating in demonstrations that were sometimes filmed, drawing attention to his charisma and physical skill. This was the initial kickstart for his career in entertainment. A few years later, he chose to move to Los Angeles, where his constant presence in martial arts and small roles on television helped him pave the way into Hollywood. But he also had to overcome prejudice in cinema and the difficulty of securing leading roles in Hollywood, which often stereotyped Asians, selecting Asian actors for only secondary and caricatured roles. During this period, Bruce also found valuable allies who were essential for his success and growth. His wife, Linda Lee Cadwell, provided constant support in his personal and professional journey. Bruce also faced challenges with the martial arts community itself, including a famous duel with Wong Jackman, which was a turning point leading him to develop Jeet Kune Do, a more adaptable and effective style. This episode highlighted his philosophy of being like water, which preached adaptability and fluidity in the faces of challenges, turning each obstacle into an opportunity for growth and innovation.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Despite the challenges imposed both in the area of cinema and fighting, these were tests that made our hero express all his greatness, versatility, and strength. The integration of his martial skills with his acting aspirations was crucial for his future success in iconic movies and leaving a great legacy for his admirers. The last stage of the hero's journey is known as Return with the Elixir. We can affirm that the impact of Bruce Lee transcended the world of cinema and redefined martial arts globally. In fact, he was a pioneer in promoting martial arts films in the West, such as in his cult classics like The Chinese Dragon and Operation Dragon, which were films that opened paths for the genre. His enduring legacy is celebrated with stars on the Walk of Fame in both Hong Kong and Hollywood, and he continues to be a source of inspiration for artists and athletes around the world. Bruce broke stereotypes by presenting a strong and charismatic Asian hero in Hollywood, changing the perception and inclusion of Asians in the film industry. Furthermore, his more reflective personality and sharing of his life philosophy, which permeated his fighting techniques, offered a new way of thinking about self-awareness and body expression. To this day, many lessons taught by Bruce serve as guidance for current generations, both in the West and in the East. Although his untimely death in 1973 was a tragic loss, his legacy remains alive and continues to inspire and influence people around the world, both inside and outside of martial arts. Bruce Lee died tragically on July 20, 1973, at the age of 32 due to a cerebral edema caused by an allergic reaction to a painkiller he had taken. His death shocked the world and left a void in the film industry and in martial arts. Lee was admired not only as a phenomenal martial artist, but also as a philosopher and innovator. He left a legacy that still inspires millions of people to seek spiritual evolution and continue self-development. So tell us, what is the biggest ass-whooping that you remember Bruce Lee gave someone? On the Hero's Journey channel, we explore stories of ordinary people who became real-life heroes by overcoming extraordinary adversity. So, if you like inspiring and motivational content based on true stories, hit like so this video reaches more people, and subscribe to the channel to receive our future episodes about inspiring heroes like Bruce Lee. That's it for today. Be water, my friend.